Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this week's episode of Mocktail Minutes. This is Bailey.
And this is Brianna.
This week I am drinking Odyssey 222. I don't know if that's an important part of the name, but it's one of the Odyssey drinks. The strawberry watermelon. I like it. It's pretty good. It does have erythritol in it, so if that bothers your stomach, be careful. It has 12
Yeah.
grams. I don't know if I ever told you or not, but I had this granola that had erythritol in it and it had like 10 grams. It kept making my stomach hurt. I was like, I guess I just like can't handle that much erythritol. It's probably it. Like I would get super bloated. I just like would not feel great. So I would just not eat as much. Come to find out there's milk in it and I have a dairy allergy. So
That'll do it.
there we go.
Girl, it's so weird. Why does erythritol not bother me in anything else? But in
I
this
know.
weird, a granola that had dairy in it or milk in it? I wouldn't have thought about that. Yeah, don't eat that. I don't feel like that's a normal thing. People are like, oh, let me check to see if there's like,
And I check every label and it says clear as day contains milk. So I don't know what I was thinking that day.
girl, that's weird. I'm doing the Olipop. I'm doing the seasonal crisp apple flavor again. It's
I
kind
want
of,
to try it.
I need people to weigh in and tell me if they like it.
Yeah, I haven't seen it like anywhere around me. Maybe I should go to Fresh Time and see if they have it, because they usually have my fun drinks.
I usually find all the good flavors at Target.
Well, everybody stay tuned. See if I find it. All right, we are talking about rest days today. We had talked about 75 hard, gave our review, our opinion on it. So we thought a good follow-up would be rest days. And so sorry about the title mix-up. If you pay attention to the title, you'll see originally we had 75 hard as a title to what was our metabolic adaptations episode. It had
Yes,
nothing to do with really 75 hard.
it
We didn't
didn't.
even mention the words, I don't think.
No. And what's worse is my husband listened to it and thought, weird, this doesn't sound like it's about 75 hard, and never even thought to tell me until I went to upload the next week's episode. And I was like, how did we have the same exact mocktails 2 weeks in a row?
Weird.
We did not.
So we hope you got to listen to the actual episode of 75 hard. And if you're really confused on the title and the content, sorry. Oops.
Yeah, now the 75 hard one is labeled the actual episode about 75 hard, and the other one is metabolic adaptation. So they're both really good episodes.
Yeah.
Hopefully now it's not confusing.
Yes. So we are going to talk about rest days today. First, let's just dive into like what is the science behind recovery? Like what is happening when your body is recovering? Like because I think that's important to know to understand the importance of it.
Mhm.
So, number one, this is where your muscles are going to prepare. I mean, not prepare. They're going to repair, and then protein synthesis occurs during this rest period. So when we're talking about rest days, we are talking about like rest days from workouts, like from high intensity or weightlifting. I don't think you necessarily need to take like rest days when it comes to like going on walks, for example.
Yeah.
I was actually just talking to someone about this the other day. She was like, if I previously, if I would go to the gym in the morning, I just like wouldn't walk for the rest of the day because it's like, oh, I already got my workout in. I I don't know about you, but I honestly don't really count a walk as a workout.
No.
I just think view it more as movement, whereas like challenging your muscles, that's when we're getting that workout in. So no matter what, always getting a walk in, even if you are on
Mhm.
a rest day.
Yeah, I like to break it up. Like I have my clients think about exercise and like movement, and I try to have them like think about it in two different ways because realistically we should be moving our body every day. And so a really easy way to do that is walking. But I think that's a really easy trap to fall into, and I think it's something that frustrates a lot of people when they're on a weight loss journey because they're like, what the heck? I'm doing all the right things. Like I'm watching my nutrition. I'm into a good workout routine, and what's happening is like on days they work out, it's almost like, oh, check that box. Like you were talking to that person about, like, now I don't have to do anything for the rest of
Hmm.
it. It's like, again, we love it, but 1 hour a day of exercise and then not doing much the rest of the day is probably a reason why you're not seeing a lot of progress. So yeah, I like to think of them differently. So we're talking like rest days from strength training,
Hmm.
heavy
So with
lifting.
this muscle repair and protein synthesis, when you exercise, especially when you were doing something like weightlifting, you are basically you're creating micro tears in your muscle fibers. So protein synthesis is the process in which your cells are going to repair these fibers to and it's doing this by using protein to like rebuild and make your muscles stronger. And this is primarily going to happen during rest, not during the workout. So your body requires rest along with eating to make this process be successful. And even thinking about the eating part of things, an important aspect of this is your glycogen replenishment. So exercise
Mhm.
uses glycogen, which is just your body's stored form of carbohydrates, as a primary energy source. So after exercise, you have to work to refill these glycogen stores, which also helps to prevent muscle fatigue and gives you kind of energy for your next workout. So if you're someone who's under eating carbs and you're like super easily fatigued during your workouts, or you feel like you're not recovering well, your carbohydrate intake may be a reason why. So even on these rest days or when you're like in a recovery phase, carbs are still important. And I think that's good information to know, where I don't think you have to be like, I think it helps to kind of maybe adjust some of your carbs when you are weightlifting, but it's not
Mhm.
like you do very low carb the days you
Yeah.
aren't lifting.
Well, that's like a common myth that I hear, or like, because again, I think even with people increasing their carbs, getting a little bit more comfortable with it, they're still scared of it. And so a lot of women will ask me, like, oh, should I just be focusing on carbs like on my workout days? And then can I eat low carb or like, not eat a starchy carb on my non-workout days? And the answer is no, because you need to replenish that glycogen. You need to build up your muscle. Again, I agree with you. I don't think we need as much. Like usually on a workout day, you're having a little bit of additional carbs because you're having like a pre-workout snack or something like that, or you're having a decent amount of carbs after your workout. So, your carb amount might be a little bit different, but it shouldn't be like this vast different in carbohydrates on your workout to non-workout days. And I think that's something we need to get over, like the concept of like, if I'm not working out or I'm not strength training this day, I don't need the carbs, where it's like, well, you do, because that's when your body is, building up that muscle. So to get the full benefits of strength training, you should be resting. You should be having carbs on rest days.
Yes. And I think honestly, with a lot of people I work with, because I mean, kind of depends what boat you're in. Sometimes it's people are coming to me eating too low of carbs. Sometimes, yeah, we are overdoing it on carbs. And it's like that automatic thinking of, oh my gosh, now this is restrictive because I'm adjusting my carbs. That mindset is exactly why you're stuck.
Mm-hmm.
So being able to experiment, get curious. And that's exactly what I tell people when we get to starchy carbs. That's like we automatically freeze up. Everyone does. When I mention starchy carbs, working on like 1 to 2 a day, see where you feel good at. And that's why I tell people, I'm like, just try it. Like if you don't feel good, you're going to adjust.
Yeah.
What you are doing these next 2 weeks isn't necessarily even set in stone. We're seeing what works for you right now. So carbs are important. They could be needing to be adjusted down or up. It kind of just depends on where you're at. I can't necessarily tell everyone, oh yeah, everyone go decrease carbs, or oh yeah, everyone go eat more carbs, because I have no idea what you're doing in the first place. So that's not super helpful.
Mm-mm.
So we want
Right.
to make sure we're replenishing our glycogen. Other thing that happens with these rest days is nervous system recovery. So intense exercise is not just going to cause your muscles to fatigue, it also is going to be kind of like a stressor on your nervous system, be which like controls your motor functions and response time.
Mm-hmm.
So your central nervous system can be overworked after intense training, causing like delayed reaction, lack of focus, and even a little bit like of mood swings. So during these rest days, your body gets a chance to recover, help to prevent burnout, and it can also help with just your coordination. So I mean, you can think about this like if you ever gone through a period of time where you're like no rest days, orange theory every day, eventually you hit a wall. I don't think I've met anyone that has been able to maintain that and feel good.
No, and it's like, you start to see things like, the other things that because your nervous system plays a role really in all things. But something to pay attention to is like, are you someone who's continuously getting sick? Like I always feel lethargic, or I'm getting sick all the time. Like that's kind of a red flag to me that your immune system is a little bit down, and definitely overtraining can do that. And
Hmm.
I have had plenty of clients where I'm like, I don't think the problem is that you're not working out. I think the problem is you're doing too much. So let's like pull back a little bit. And so for, if you're one of those people and you feel like, oh, I don't really take rest days, or I'm always doing strenuous activity, like trying to match how much strenuous activity you're doing with more like recovery, like rest and recovery can be important. So for some people, that's the goal I give them. I'm like, you need to match it. And so if you can't do, yoga 4 times a week, and you can't do like a long restorative walk 4 times a week or something like that, but you want to lift heavy 4 times a week or 5 days a week, well, then you don't get to do it. You have to match it. And I think people are really like scared, and then they do it and they're like, oh my gosh, like I feel so much better. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a
Yeah.
huge difference.
Mm-hmm. Your body needs
Other
that.
Yes. And like it is going to affect your hormones and your stress because exercise does trigger your body to release some hormones like endorphins, adrenaline, and cortisol. Well, cortisol is a stress hormone. So it is beneficial in small amounts, but if we are constantly pumping out all this cortisol, you're going to have the impaired immune function, the poor sleep. So resting is going to help bring like those cortisol levels back to normal during that recovery period. And then kind of in turn, like reducing inflammation and clearing metabolic waste. So during this intense exercise, your body is actually going to produce metabolic byproducts, lactic acid. I feel like that's like a buzzword in the gym community, lactic
Yeah.
acid buildup and everything. But you can experience inflammation due to the stress on the tissues. I mean, that lactic acid, that's like correlated with your fatigue on your muscles, your soreness.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're getting this rest, you're allowing your body to kind of get rid of this waste, reduce inflammation. So now you have less soreness, less stiffness, less risk of injury. Because
Yeah.
that's another thing. Like if we're always just powering through, it's very easy to get injured. And now it's like, well, crap, I just went so hard in the gym. Now I'm injured and now I'm back. Like I'm not moving my butt at all. Or you kind of just get stuck in this cycle. So
Mm-hmm.
being able to kind of give your body time to clear it out. And I would say some soreness is normal. Like you
Yeah.
should feel a little bit sore because you just those micro tears, you know?
Yeah.
So you should feel a little bit sore, but not to the point where you're like in pain walking up the steps or you're just
Like
sitting there in
two,
pain the
three
next
days
day.
after your workout where you're like, I still can't sit down. Okay, we need to talk about a couple of things. We need to talk about a couple of things. But number one, first and foremost, I'm going to ask, how much are you resting? And, it used to be this thing where it's like, as long as you don't feel sore, you could work that same muscle the next day, stuff like that. I don't know if that's entirely true. And I don't think you should just use soreness to like go off of it, because in a well-trained person, you will become less sore over time. I think if you're really trying to reap the benefits, you should have those rest days. I think you can get strategic with it. But yeah, like you were saying, you can lead to injury. It's also going to kind of give you this mental burnout as well. And let's just be honest, you're not going to be able to train every single day. And so, life's going to happen. Something's going to pop up. If you are burnt out or you get an injury, again, we talked about this with the 75 hard, that's when you take months off of working out. And it's like, it would have been more
Hmm.
beneficial for you to work out 2, 3, 4 times a week max than try to do every single day for 2 months straight and then none for another 2 months. Go back to it for 2 months. You know,
Hmm.
not, it's not the jam. I can't tell people that enough.
It's not the vibe.
Not the vibe. It's not the vibe. Like, we want consistency. But I just, the other thing that I kind of want to point out, because I feel like this has become, because cortisol and inflammation and all that stuff has become buzzwords on Instagram. There's more people coming out saying like, no, you can still like, for running or strength training, right? It's always like, should we run? Should we strength train? Should we cardio? Should we strength train? Okay, the answer is you do need both, right? But you need them in certain amounts, and it's going to be based off your fitness level. And so there is a lot of people out there that's like, you can run, 5 days a week and you can lift heavy 5 days a week. And I'm going to say that's true if you are doing all the things you're supposed to do. Like, I don't think people realize how many calories and carbs you have to eat to run and strength train 5 days a week. It's a
Mhm.
lot. And I don't think the majority of the people we work with are doing that.
Yeah, I mean, we're struggling just to get to the basics. That's why,
Yeah.
honestly, we do a little bit of reverse dieting with so many.
Mhm.
But yeah, you have to eat a nut. You have to eat enough. Maybe
Yeah.
some nuts.
Yeah, maybe.
You have to eat enough. And that is what's going to propel you forward. So it really, I don't think we can stress enough how important it is to be able to do that. There was something else I was going to say, but I can't even think of it.
I don't know. I just think like the majority of people, like you'll see things on the internet and you'll be like, okay, it's kind of like we're looking for validation. We're looking for
Oh, I know
permission,
what I was
right?
going to say.
Okay, go.
So when I think a lot of dieting tips get misconstrued or get lost in translation. And I was thinking about this today. I might make a reel on it, but I was thinking about this today because something like drink your water if you were hungry. That's like a dieting tip. I remember that from when I
Yeah.
was in high school. Like, oh, you're hungry, go drink some water. And it was like turned into this like weight loss thing. It's like, oh, I drank my water for lunch. I mean, I don't think many people are taking it to that extreme, but it's like lunchtime we're gurgling down water and not eating a lot because you're getting full off water.
Mhm.
Here's the thing where I think it got lost in translation. We also recommend if you are hungry to drink some water.
Yes, because if
But
you're dehydrated, you will feel
your
hunger.
body, yes, your body will kind of mix those signals up. But we tell you to do this like after you ate lunch. You're like, okay, that should have filled me up. Or if it's been like 3 hours, let's say it's like 2 o'clock, you had lunch at noon. That's not 3 hours, but let's say it's like 2 o'clock, you had lunch at noon, and you're like, okay, I'm kind of hungry, but I had a good sized lunch. But you're also like, okay, I drank a cup of water, and that's it. Yeah, you probably needed more water at this point. So, yeah, drink some water and see if that relieves your hunger. Not drink your water for lunch and see if you can hold off a little bit longer.
Yeah. Or
That's
like,
not,
oh, you're hungry, just drink water and it'll go away. Like you're
no,
right. It gets lost in translation. And so and I feel that it's the hill I will die on. The calorie deficit. Duh. I'm
or
not,
like
but it's like,
stopping eating at 8.
yes, like stopping eating at 8 instead of like really understanding what your body is doing in the evening compared to
Hmm.
the morning, like, or calorie deficit. Yes, you need one if you want to lose weight, but like 1,200 calories is literally starving. Like that's a difference. Or, like stop doing so much cardio, start lifting more weights. People look at it as like, I can't do any cardio. I only need to do weights. When it's like, again, everything lives in that middle ground. And I
Yes.
think sometimes
Like when
we,
we say do strength training, that translation that got mixed up is, oh, so we're not doing any cardio. Well,
right.
then it's like, okay, well, try and get like 8,000 steps. And it's like, okay, so we're doing cardio. I'm like, well, it doesn't necessarily have to be
You
cardio.
just did a reel on that the other
Yes.
day. So, and it's true. And it's like, no, you need all the things, but we need them all in it. I think, and this is where it really makes the most sense to understand really why all these are recommendations. So you can understand, okay, like I do need to be strength training, but I should be moving my body. And like, okay, if I want to lose weight, I do need to eat a little bit less, but like, this is how I should do it. And like, not just eat a little, like eat a ton less, drink water. Like, it's the middle.
Yes.
And sometimes we do the opposite where we're like, well, this is the stuff I'm doing. I feel comfortable and safe with it. So I'm going to go look to see if other people are doing it and if they're saying it's the right thing to do. Does that make sense? And I
Hmm.
found like a couple of women who were like, oh no, this person says like I can still run, like half marathon distance every week and I can strength train 5 days a week. And I'm like, correct. If you were fueling and doing everything that that person
Hmm.
was doing, you could absolutely do that. But this is where you have to be honest with yourself, like, what am I actually doing? And I feel like
Hmm.
this episode, I really want to talk to the people who are over exercising. And if you're like, oh my gosh,
Yes.
over exercise, the answer is probably yes. If you're sitting there listening and like, oh, am I over exercising? Probably. Probably, but it gets misconstrued, right? Because it's like movement is so good. And if you look at a lot of the recommendations, like people, we're trying to motivate people, like, do it, do it. And so some people who are already motivated to do it are like, well, then more must be so much better.
Yes. Yeah. And
No.
like for me, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit this, but I did squats last week, like 3 reps of 10 while holding Gannon. And like for the rest of the week, I was so sore. And I was like, I don't know why my hips hurt. Like I am so sore. And then over the weekend, I was like, oh my God, I think it's my
I
30
did 10 squats
squats.
or 30 squats with Gannon.
And I was like, what in the world? Like this used to be like I would recover fine. And like that's how I'd feel after like a leg day, not
Hmm.
after just 30 squats. And so that doesn't mean I'm over exercising. It means my body is not where it was pre-pregnancy. We got some
Right.
training to do. So I think it helps to be able to distinguish that for yourself. Like, are you truly over exercising or are you just trying to say that to kind of cut yourself some slack where you don't need to be? And not to say that I'm trying to like go ham right now. I'm really planning to not even fully go back to strength training until January to kind of be like 6 months postpartum.
Yeah.
So but yeah, 30 squats, that did it for me last week. In my defense, it was also, he's at least over 16 pounds now. So it was a
Right.
good squat.
Yeah. That's so funny. That's so funny. It's like, well, it's so humbling too after you've had kids. That makes sense. Like all your muscles relax. Like you literally had hormones going through your body, making
Yeah.
ligaments and muscles and everything relax. So you could birth. Then you got to work back up. And I think giving yourself time is perfect. But yeah, like, you know, am I overworking out? Am I not? And I think the most common thing I see with people overworking out and not taking rest days is like inflammation. And this is where people are like, I
Yes.
just feel puffy. Like I feel puffy. And it's, working out is a stressor. It's a good stress, but it's a stressor and it does cause inflammation, especially like intramuscular inflammation. So if you're someone who's like, I feel like there's so much muscle here, but I just feel like puffy. Okay,
Hmm.
let's try some rest days. See what happens because you shouldn't feel inflamed all the time.
Yes.
And that's not good.
So benefits of rest days. I mean, it kind of goes along with a little bit of the science that we just talked about with taking those rest days. But number one, of course, your muscle recovery and growth. You're gonna make the small tears. Rest days, you give the chance. You give your body the chance to repair, so that way you can come back stronger, and now you can continue to make progress. Where if you're constantly just tearing down, and then I'd say second thing, like prevention of injury, like we said, if you just keep going, 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 you're going to get hurt. Like that's just the reality of it.
Mental rejuvenation, so you're, with less physical fatigue, you'll have less mental fatigue. This is what you want. I always tell people working out should make you feel more energized. It should make you feel restored. It should make you
Yes.
feel like that's how you should be feeling. So if you're not feeling that, probably a good indication you need a little bit more rest days. Improved performance is another thing. So the more rest you allow yourself to have, the more you're actually able to grow those muscles and gain strength, and you're able to go harder in the gym. When you do work out, you can push yourself harder, you can lift more, you can do those sort of things. So, and then if, other things that, other ways that you measure improved performance, but that's different for everyone.
I say like last thing, that hormonal balance, especially with that
Yeah.
cortisol, that is going to be super important. And so like when we're talking rest days, I would say about 2 times per week is what's going to be needed
Mm-hmm.
to get the benefits. Now, when we say rest days, kind of how we mentioned with like walks and everything, you don't necessarily need rest days from walks.
Yeah.
Not to say that walks aren't doing anything or they're not beneficial. They are 100% beneficial, but they're not breaking down, tearing apart your muscles like
Mm.
strength training does.
Right.
Again, I don't want to get this lost in translation.
Yeah.
So,
You need to move on your rest days, your active
yep.
recovery is like what it's called. You need that. Like, and so,
Mhm.
if you're thinking about like what is like a little bit more restorative movements, walking is one of them. So not
Even
just,
light jogging, you can
yeah,
honestly do without putting too much stress on your muscles.
a light jog, like a moderate hike, yoga, Pilates, whatever it is, something that's just not, breaking down those muscle fibers as intensely. And, this is where, you can get strategic too with your movement, around like your energy, your cycle, kind of like what your week looks like. Like if the beginning of your week is super, super stressful, maybe let's save the hard workouts for a little bit later in the week and do some more restorative movement on those higher stress days. Like bottom line, you should be moving your body every day. Moving your body every day does not equate I should be doing hard exercise every day. That's
Mm-hmm.
what I think the big takeaway we're trying to say.
Yes.
Yeah.
So think about, yeah, like you said, the walking, the jogging, the Pilates. You can also do just like stretching. That is still movement. Even like foam rolling can be super helpful just to release some tension in your muscles and improve that blood flow, which is why it can help speed up recovery and why you see a bunch of athletes rolling on foam rollers. I mean, you could do like a light cycling
Oh yeah, that's
workout.
yeah.
Yeah, we're not going like crazy. You could do some swimming if you go to a gym with like a pool. Do some
Mhm.
swimming. That could be easy on the body. You can dance. This may feel silly to you, but throw in some Zumba. Like just do something
Something.
fun.
Yeah.
Now, like I do boxing. That is not what I would consider a rest day because boxing is more high intensity. Like you get to sweat in there. So it's not my rest day. I do it on days where I'm not strength training. I still will do my walk on boxing days. That's like my high intensity workout. So you could also do things like just outdoor sports activities. I mean, or I guess indoor, but like go play some, I don't know, like a casual game of pickleball,
Yeah, that's a good one.
frisbee, or just like hit around the volleyball with your kid or pass around the soccer ball where you're not like sprinting, you're just kind of like enjoying the time.
Yeah, you're still moving your body. That's the goal. And again, even on days you strength train, you should be moving. So it's just figuring out, what movement do I actually enjoy? What's a good workout routine that allows me to rest? Because, and again, lifting heavy is relative, but if you are working out every single day and you're using some sort of weights, you're not lifting heavy enough. If you can go out there and like lift weight every single day, you're not doing it heavy.
Mhm.
Get the most out of your workouts. Like that's the point. I want people to hear like you could get more benefits from working
Yeah,
out less.
less. Yeah.
That's like what we need. And some for instance, again, for some people, I think what's really holding them back is the over exercise. So, and think about exercise and movement separately.
Yes, I think that is a great thing where, yeah, if you're in the gym, that doesn't mean you just get to sit on your rear end the rest of the day. You still
Mhm.
got to get up off your butt with the other hours of the day. And that's
Oh, rest days important. We need it. You still need carbs, all the things. But think about your workouts as like, what are they doing for me overall? Like,
that.
it's
Hmm.
not like you're just not using your muscles or like repairing your muscles on off days. That's still happening. So,
Yes. So
yeah.
taking a rest day will not make you lose progress. I want you to know that. Like, it is so hard to get out of the mentality of like more is better when it comes to workouts and also less is better when it comes to food. Like, we have got to pull ourselves out of that well, and it takes time. I'm not saying that. Just do that. Do it right now. Like, if
Yeah.
that is your thoughts when we talk about these things, that's been engraved in your head for probably years. So it's going to
Mhm.
take some time. And we hope just breaking down topics like this really helps you break down that barrier in your brain to explore different ways to approach not only weight loss, but your health overall.
Yeah. Yeah. And maintaining that muscle and like helping with longevity,
Mhm.
you need to eat enough, you need to rest enough. Eating enough and resting enough are both just as important as lifting.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, we're just really extreme. We have a hard time finding that middle ground because it doesn't feel good.
It's
It feels
scary because
yeah.
we want yes and no. We just want to be right. And I totally get it. Like, there's so many things where I'm like, no, like, can you just tell me yes or no? Like, don't give me, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Or it depends. Like, no. It's because especially if you're a rule follower, you're like, just tell
um,
me what
when I
to do.
was younger, I used to tell everyone, like, rules are rules. And now I'm the dietitian. It's like, well, it depends.
And is that a rule? Is maybe that's not a rule for you, Yeah. And it's hard. And I think that's where, circling back to really understanding how your body works, why you're doing the things that you do, what's really going on behind everything, kind of helps you figure out, well, what's right for me, and also makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel comfortable with being like, I shouldn't be going to the gym for the sixth time this week. And this is why,
Yeah.
as opposed to like, I'm just not doing it. But like, if you have that fear of it's not enough, that's going to be very uncomfortable for you. So really understanding like, why am I doing this?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, everyone. We hope this week's episode was helpful for you. We will be back next week with a new topic. And should we go ahead and announce what we're going to do next year?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
too. Yes. So we have came up with our plan. We are going to be starting monthly programs on Telegram. It's an app basically that's kind of like a group chat. But we're going to start a program in there. We're going to have a different topic each month to focus on. But basically, for the month, you're going to get some recipes. You're going to have a Q&A each week. You're going to get lessons each week from Brianna and I. We're going to have a monthly mocktail that we choose and kind of break down ingredients in it, whether it's one we make ourselves or like we find one that we like or the one that we shared in here and kind of explain each of the things in it. We're going to be providing with accountability. We're going to be providing you with like general nutrition advice. So I do want to point that out. This is not one-on-one coaching.
Yeah.
We're not doing one-on-one coaching through this. That is a whole nother thing. This is general nutrition advice for the average person. We will do kind of like weekly check-ins. We're trying to figure out the exact format of that, but we're going to do some type of check-in with you. We're going to give you habit-focused tips, and there's also going to be monthly challenge. So it's literally a ton of value you are getting here, and you are going to love it.
Yeah.
We're already working on a theme for each month. So more information will be coming, but we will start this in January, and we are going to launch and you're going to be able to purchase starting December 9th. So make sure you stay tuned. Oh, and Mocktail Minutes has its own Instagram now.
Oh, yes.
Go follow it.
Go follow us over at Mocktail Minutes on Instagram. We're building it up. So that's where we're going to start showing like the weekly reels, kind of put in some like of our favorite things over there. And then that's also where you'll be able to purchase anything Mocktail Minutes related. You'll be able to do that through the link in the bio over there.
Yes, we are expanding. Lots of exciting things happening this year to take Mocktail Minutes to the next level. You guys are you're gonna love it. It's gonna be great. Or if you just want to continue listening to podcasts, that's cool too. We just want to offer more value to those of you that have been asking. So those are the updates.
I'm excited.
All right, everyone, have a great rest of your week, and we will talk to you next week. Bye. Bye.